What's going on YouTube? This is Probius1030 with the Tin Can Garden. And, well, I was sitting on the greenhouse today and figured I'd just turn on the camera and talk to you fine folks. As I was sitting here this morning kind of going over my plants and what have you, it had dawned on me that a lot of people in their lives today, they have a lot of frustrations. You know, you wake up, get your kid, if you have children, you gotta get your kids ready for school, chaos, total chaos from that point on. It's like, unless you have sweet children that listen to every command you give them, and, well, yeah, right. So, as I was sitting there thinking about all these crazy stressors we have in this life, you know, I'm former military, and if anybody knows stress, it's our military, trust me. And I started thinking about gardening and what it does for me. It's a very therapeutic thing to get in touch with Earth and, you know, get in touch with your plants and just, all your worries seem to leave. And if you don't believe me, start a flower garden. I mean, if vegetables and flowers aren't your thing, get a little bonsai tree and just, you know, mess with it every now and again. Don't cut it too much because they will die. But it is very therapeutic. And what I find, even if you're not into gardening, you say, look, I don't have time for that. Take a walk in the woods. And whenever you step into the forest, you'll find that you feel this sudden ease of calmness come over you. And you can't explain why. It's because people are not in touch with the earth as they used to be. We don't, you know, the days of foraging and gathering are gone, obviously. You know, we go to supermarket, big box store, and we get whatever we need. And then we go on to our busy lives, and, you know, not me, but most people, the highlight of their day is, you know, watching TV. I don't watch that much TV. I find it to be a major distraction. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I do have my shows like everybody else, but once in a blue moon. Mainly I'm outside, I'm either reading, YouTube's my honest addiction at this point. I find myself more amused with teaching people things and being taught things. So that's really my main vice right there. However, a lot of times what I find is you take these kids that are, you know, from the city, and they, you know, some of them got rough lives, you know, the parents have addictions, maybe the parents are just too busy, you know, maybe they have a lot of turmoil in their lives and things have happened to them. And you put them in a garden, all that seems to go away. It just poof, disappears for that moment. And it's such a therapeutical thing that they've actually used it in prisons. So you're taking these hardcore criminals, throwing them in a garden, telling them, hey, you want to eat? Grow your own food. And they become less violent. They become less stressed. They become nicer people, better people. I'm not saying they're not still criminals, because we all know that some things are just, you can't change some people. Some people can be rehabilitated. I'm on the fence with that one, but that's a whole nother discussion. However, you know, Joseph Simcox, saw a couple of his videos, and he was saying that whenever he takes seeds and he puts them in people's hands, they just automatically start smiling, especially small children. And he made a funny comment of he didn't know whether they were smiling because they had a plant in their hand, or if they were smiling because they thought he was crazy. But in the same sense, it's very true. Whenever you grab a seed and you hold it in your hand, you have life. Now, scientists to this day cannot really explain how a seed goes from its embryo state to a plant, because a seed can be thousands of years old, like the one they found on Otis the Iceman, and they still managed to bring, you know, sprout it. Now that's a miracle. You know, like it or not, these are living things. These are living organisms. We all learned that in school. That's why they believe that talking to your plants and things like that provide a better crop. Some of you guys are going to go, Pervious, you're nuts, you're crazy. It's been proven. Music, talking to your plants, it does help. And that's in my honest opinion. I believe, that a happy plant is a healthy plant, is a good plant. For instance, my tomato plant that I've been taking all my cuttings from is a beefsteak. My brother-in-law had bought it, and he didn't do much with it. It was very sickly. It was starting to die. Not producing at all. I got it, and it took me a good month to get that plant back to where it's actually producing flowers on the top half. We actually have a tomato. It's a little one, but it's a tomato. And I've been taking a lot of cuttings from it, and that is stress on the plant. However, even though I'm taking cuttings from it, it's still doing better than it was. And because where it was at his house, he just kind of threw it on the back porch and whatever. Didn't really water it. Didn't really, do any of the essential tomato plant pruning that we all know. So after I got it, I put a little bit of compost in there, put it where it needed to be. Made sure that in the morning it got good sunlight, and in the afternoon it didn't get so much hot sun. And it seems to be happy. It works for me. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that. And if you don't believe me, do your own test. I mean, whenever you're stressed out and you're really just had it, if you have a garden, go out to your garden. And well, for you guys in the northern states, you might want to do an indoor garden. They do sell closet indoor gardens and all that mess. And yeah, it's a little bit of an investment, but what price can you put on your peace of mind, really? And plus, you grow some food, you have it, whatever. But plants seem to have a very, very, almost a fusa about them, if you will. Just sitting there and watching the bees pollinate plants is peaceful. Just watching that seed turn into something that's producing fruit, and that fruit's producing seed, and the whole evolution of life right there in front of you is pretty awesome. So I challenge you guys to go ahead and spend some time in a garden. And if you don't have a garden, you probably know somebody who does. A community garden is a great adventure. And if you have the blackest thumbs on God's green earth, start off with some radishes, lettuces. They take minimal work and they'll grow. I promise you, if you do minimal work, don't overdo it, don't overthink it. Find your local gardener and have them help you. They'll be glad to help you, trust me. And if you don't, you don't really know what you're doing, get on YouTube. You're there right now. All you gotta do is start typing in what you want to know, and you have the world of information right there at your fingertips. I believe if I had YouTube whenever I was younger, I'd know a lot more than I do now, because it's been a lot of trial and error. And gardening is trial and error. Do not think that us as gardeners, some of these gardeners you see on YouTube have not failed at something, because we all have. My first attempt at growing seeds as a kid was throwing a bunch of soil in a old dresser traveling trunk and throwing seeds in there and just letting them go in my closet in my house and under a light bulb. It was winter time. It didn't turn out so well. They come up spindly. They were all tomatoes. They come up spindly and horrible looking. And as I got older, I watched other gardeners, and then I got curious, so I started reading and I started getting this information. And some people, by the luck of the draw, they throw some seeds down, conditions are perfect, boom, beautiful garden. It happens. A friend of mine back north in Ohio said that last year his garden didn't do nothing. It didn't produce squat. he's wondering if he has GMO seeds. Most of your GMOs are corn, soy, cotton, things like that. I think what his problem may have been is his seeds may have been too old the more that I think about it, or maybe the conditions wasn't right, or maybe he didn't start them indoors. Some years are just better than others. If you got a lot of rain, like one year my cherry tomatoes, I had a lot of rain, my cherry tomatoes just split on me. It was ridiculous. I couldn't keep the moisture in them, and it all came out. So we had to eat a lot of cherry tomatoes in a short amount of time. I've had some awesome successes in gardening. I grew my first cauliflower at our former school, and the head on it was literally ridiculous. I wish I would have took a picture of it. And we had to get it out of there because I didn't want it to be stolen or destroyed by some of the local vandalists. And you know, that's a real heartbreaker whenever you see things like that. But at our local school, you know, these are people that you usually see them, you know, and they wouldn't say two words to you. But in the community garden at the school, they would want to engage you and communicate with you and know what you want to, they want to know what you know. Or, you know, you might want to know something they know. So that communication, that cultural, you know, and these are people from Guatemala, Vietnam. I mean, they didn't speak good English, but they managed to communicate with you some way, somehow, because they wanted to know what you knew, what you were doing, or if you wanted to know what they were doing, you'd have to break that language barrier. So I do believe that plants also can cure a lot of our social problems. I mean, I'm not a big people person, I'll be honest with you guys. Whenever I go to Walmart, I try not to. I really don't. I don't like going out into the world because some people are just cruel and unusual. It's just the way it is. That doesn't mean that I'm right. It just means that that's my personal choice. I'm not a big people person. However, you take those same people that I can't stand at the store and you put them in a different environment like a garden, they're totally different people. So I believe that the environment has a lot to do, the environment that you're in has a lot to do with it as well. You take people shopping on Black Friday, they're crazy. I never go out on Black Friday. No. Not me. No. I watch it on TV, it's a spectator sport to me. But you take those same lunatics and you put them in a garden with their own little plot, and they're totally different people. It just transforms people. So, just like music, you know, you put music in a garden with food, you have the perfect atmosphere for blooming friendships. I truly believe that. And remember to share your bounty. You know, don't be stingy. Don't keep all your seeds for yourself. Don't keep if you got more than you need, there's somebody down the road right now who's starving. I promise you, somebody down the road is working their butt off and getting nowhere because somebody else is sucking off the system, and this guy can't even get a helping hand. So remember that guy. You know, maybe you don't know how to garden. Maybe that's something you need to pass on in your community. Start a community garden. If you don't know how, there's a channel somewhere. You know, I have a community garden at my school. Well, it ain't a community garden, it's a school garden. It's kind of like a community garden for the kids in a safe area. So this is something I highly encourage you to do. Go out and start a community garden. I might do a video on that in the future. So yeah, mainly that's what this video is. Basically trying to challenge you guys to take my therapeutic challenge and spend some time with your plants and enjoy yourself and be at peace with yourself for that moment in time. So I'm Pervious1030 with the Tin Can Gardener, and remember, if you teach somebody how to garden, you'll feed them for the rest of their lives. Alright guys, have a good day.